personal cost of your progress. In fact, the world seems to keep moving, oblivious to your effort, indifferent to your struggle. But here's the truth they won't tell you that's exactly the point. The world doesn't care, and neither should you. The moment you accept this harsh reality is the moment you free yourself from the endless noise of external validation. The moment you stop waiting for others to notice, you gain the ultimate power. The power to focus purely on yourself. Think about it. The hardest and most successful individuals, the ones who've carved out legacies, who've risen above mediocrity, they've never waited for applause. They didn't need a cheering crowd. They've mastered the art of doing the work when no one was looking, when no one cared. And you know why. Because they understood something deeply profound. Your success doesn't depend on others acknowledging your effort. It depends entirely on you. This isn't a message about being callous or detached from the world around you. It's about directing your attention inward. It's about recognizing that when you focus on your growth, your craft, your mind expands and your potential accelerates. Every minute you waste looking for someone to affirm your journey is a minute you could have spent honing your skill, sharpening your discipline, strengthening your resolve. Now, why is this so powerful? Because we live in an era of constant distractions. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeking validation, approval, and recognition. Social media is a constant reminder that everyone is watching, everyone is judging, and everyone is telling you how to live. But that external noise is precisely what keeps you from doing your best work. The moment you stop chasing approval, you free up mental space. Space that can be devoted to mastering your craft, learning new things, pushing yourself past limits that once seemed impossible. Here's where the magic happens. The more you work, you build, the more you transform yourself into something extraordinary. And when you've done the hard work, when you've given your all, something changes. Success isn't about other people caring. It's about you becoming the person who no longer needs anyone's approval, who thrives because of your own unwavering belief in your potential. Remember, nobody cares. Not because they're bad people, but they're busy with their own struggles, their own goals. And that's fine. Care. You must care enough to push through when it feels like no one is watching, when it feels like your efforts are seen. That's when the real growth happens. That's when you become unstoppable. So when it feels like nobody cares. And trust me, it will. It's just the universe's way of telling you, focus, get to work. This is your moment to level up. It's your moment to prove to yourself that you can keep going, keep fighting, keep striving regardless of who is around to witness it. Work hard. Focus on you. You don't need anyone else to care for your dreams to come alive. And what you need is to care enough to give everything you've got without looking for anything in return except the relentless pursuit of becoming who you're truly meant to be. Imagine this, you've got big dreams, bigger ambitions, and a hunger to achieve. But every time you look around, you start to realize something unsettling: nobody cares. They don't care about your late nights, your sacrifices, or the relentless pursuit of your goals. No one notices the hours you've put in, the personal cost of your progress. In fact, the world seems to keep moving, oblivious to your effort, indifferent to your struggle. But here's the truth they won't tell you that's exactly the point. The world doesn't care, and neither should you. The moment you accept this harsh reality is the moment you free yourself from the endless noise of external validation. The moment you stop waiting for others to notice, you gain the ultimate power, the power to focus purely on yourself. Because in a sense, the indifference of the world is a gift. It's a signal that the work you're doing is for you, and only for you. If you're constantly seeking approval, if you're looking for others to affirm your journey, you'll only slow yourself down. Why? At Stanford. Because when you depend on others to recognize your efforts, you're shifting your energy outward instead of inward. And that's dangerous. It means you're giving up control of your own destiny to the unpredictable, ever-changing opinions of others. But once you embrace that no one is watching, you realize this is your time. This is when you can pour your energy into the one thing that matters yourself. And this realization, it's liberating. It cuts through the noise. You no longer need to wait for someone to tell you're on the right track. You don't need anyone else to believe in you for you to keep moving forward. When you stop looking for external validation, that's when you unlock the ability to truly focus. You stop worrying about how others are perceiving your work, your struggles, and your progress. Instead, you become the sole judge of your own path, and that's where the real power lies. So, yes, nobody cares. And that's not a weakness, that's your strength. Here's the hard truth: seeking approval, chasing recognition, constantly looking for validation. These are distractions. They pull you away from the most important thing you can focus on: your own growth. When you're constantly checking for signs that others approve of your work or your ideas, you're wasting energy on something that doesn't serve your true purpose. Think about it. The more you look outward for validation, the less time and energy you have to invest in your craft, your discipline, and your evolution. We live in a world that thrives on feedback, likes, comments, and approval. Social media, for example, is designed to make you feel validated by the external world. But the real question is, does it make you better? Does it make you stronger? No. It pulls you away from the raw, real internal work that creates the kind of lasting success that others can't just see in a snapshot or comment on. What you need to understand is this external validation is fleeting. It's not sustainable. The moment you stop chasing the validation of others, you gain the mental clarity to direct your energy in the right place. Inward, toward improving yourself, toward mastering your craft. When you depend on external approval, you put your self-worth in someone else's hands. And Rees at Stanford. But the most successful individuals, those who rise to the top, they're the ones who found value in the work itself, not in the applause. They know that real progress comes when you stop looking to others for feedback and start tuning in to your own inner compass. Once you stop seeking approval, you're free to experiment, to fail, to try things that others might not understand or agree with. And that's where the magic happens. When you're not worried about what others think, you start unlocking your full potential because you're doing the work for the sake of the work, not for someone else's praise. And that's a game changer. It's the shift from being externally driven to being internally driven at Stanford. And that's what separates those who make a lasting impact from our stuck chasing validation that will never be enough. True growth doesn't happen when everyone is watching. It doesn't happen when you're on stage receiving applause or being recognized for your achievements. No, real growth, the kind that actually transforms you, happens in those quiet moments when no one is paying attention, when it's just you and your work. Research at Stanford. This is where you build your resilience, where you refine your skills, really challenge yourself. It's not glamorous. It's not flashy. And it certainly doesn't come with immediate rewards, but it is where the foundation for everything solid is laid. Think about it: the best in any field, whether it's sports, art, business, or science. They didn't get there through the applause or the recognition. They got there by putting in the hours when no one cared. They got there by showing up day in and day out, consistently doing the work, not because of the external reward, but because they were obsessed with improving themselves. That's where the magic is. It's in the practice, the repetition, the refining of your craft. The hours spent alone, grinding away in the pursuit of excellence when no one else is around to witness it. This is when you create your breakthroughs. We live in a world obsessed with instant results, with recognition that's fast and fleeting. But true, lasting transformation requires time spent in solitude, away from the eyes of others. And here's why that's so crucial when you're working in the silence and Stanford. When you're refining yourself without the pressure of external expectations, you're able to focus on the process itself. You're not distracted by trying to impress others or meet someone else's standards. You're free to experiment, to fail, to learn, and ultimately to grow in ways that don't need immediate validation. And here's the interesting part. The more you focus on this process of growth, the more you realize that you don't need the spotlight. The success, the breakthroughs, they eventually come. But they come from the deep inside watching. And when it's finally time for others to notice, it's not because you wanted their approval. It's because the depth of your work speaks for itself. Your journey is yours alone, and that's something you need to truly internalize. The moment you start measuring your progress based on the pace or success of others, you've already lost. We live in a world that's constantly comparing, constantly looking around at what others are doing, what they've accomplished, what they've achieved. But that comparison is the thief of focus and third role, Stanford. Every time you glance to the left or the right, you're taking energy away from what really matters, your own path. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that you should be like someone else or that you should be where someone else is in their journey. Social media, friends, colleagues, even family, they all inadvertently push these narratives of comparison. But here's the key: no one else is walking in your shoes. No one else has the exact combination of experiences, strengths, and challenges that you do. Your journey is uniquely yours. So why waste time measuring it against someone else's? The truth is, the more you focus on others, the less time you spend developing yourself. You stop doing the things that actually propel you forward. Working on your skill, refining your mind, pushing your body to new limits. The more you compare yourself to others, the more you start measuring your worth based on external benchmarks instead of your own internal standards. This is where the real magic lies, in knowing that your goals and your growth are defined by you and only you. The most successful people understand this deeply. They understand that their growth doesn't come from a race against others. It comes from doing the work, no matter where anyone else is in their journey. And research roles at Stanford, they've learned to stay in their lane, to focus on their own development, their own progress, and research roles at Stanford. They know that the only person they should be measuring themselves against is who they were yesterday. That's how real growth happens. When you stop competing with others and start competing with yourself, when you realize your only race is the one you're running against your own limitations, you unlock a power that's unstoppable. So the next time you feel yourself looking around, wondering where others are in their journey, remember this: your progress is yours. Your story is yours. Your success will be defined by the work you put in and the person you become, not by how quickly or slowly anyone else is moving. Your path is yours alone, and that's where your focus must remain. Discipline is the cornerstone of everything you want to achieve, and it's one of the most underrated aspects of success. It's not the flashy moments of inspiration that lead to breakthroughs. It's the consistent, everyday commitment to showing up, even when the motivation isn't there, even when the results aren't immediate. It's in the repeated small actions that over time compound into massive transformation. Discipline is what separates those who talk about their goals from those who actually achieve them. It's easy to be motivated when everything is going well, when the rewards are just around the corner. But the real test comes when things aren't moving as fast as you'd like, when the path isn't clear, when progress feels invisible. And that's when discipline becomes the differentiator. It's the ability to stay the course when the excitement fades and the hard work starts to feel like a grind. At Stanford, the most successful people in the world aren't those who have been lucky or those who have it easy. They're the ones who've built unshakable discipline, the ability to keep pushing forward, even when the world doesn't seem to care or when they don't see immediate results. Discipline is about creating habits that align with your goals, even when it's inconvenient. It's not always glamorous. There are no cheering crowds or public accolades when you're putting in the work in those quiet, unnoticed hours at Stanford. But that's where the real transformation happens. In those moments of discomfort, in the persistence when it feels like nothing is changing. This is why discipline is so powerful. And at Stanford, it's not about being perfect every time, about showing up consistently regardless of how you feel. It's the commitment to the long game, to the delayed gratification that comes from knowing that if you keep at it, if you keep showing up day after day, progress will come, even if it's slow. And here's the secret: discipline doesn't just come from willpower. It's built from structure. You create systems that make it easier to stay disciplined, that help you act even when motivation wanes. This could be as simple as blocking off for deep work or building a routine that sets you up for success even before you start. It's about setting up your environment so you can't fail, about removing distractions that pull you away from your purpose. When you build your life around disciplined actions, when it becomes a non-negotiable part of your daily routine, you stop relying on motivation alone. Motivation comes and goes at Stanford, but discipline will carry you through the tough times, and it will get you to the places you want to go. So next time you're faced with the choice to push to forward or fall back into comfort, remember, it's not about waiting for motivation to strike. It's about having the discipline to do what needs to be done, even when it's hard. That's how you build momentum. That's how you create results that last. And research at Stanford, your mindset is the lens through which you experience the world, and it dictates every outcome you'll ever have. It's not just about how you feel in any given moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how you interpret the challenges, the setbacks, and the victories along the way. When you shift your mindset, you essentially change the entire trajectory of your life. And this shift is most powerful when you stop seeking approval from others. Here's what I mean. Every time you look to others for validation, you're outsourcing your sense of self-worth. You're allowing the opinions of others to shape how you see your own progress. But when you realize that external validation isn't necessary, your mindset shifts from being externally driven to internally driven. This internal drive is what allows you to break free from the cycle of seeking approval and instead focus on what truly matters, the work itself, your growth, your evolution. The beauty of this is that it frees up your mental bandwidth to actually focus on the process. When you stop worrying about what others think, your mind is no longer cluttered with comparison, competition, or self-doubt driven by outside opinions. This is where the real focus happens. Your brain, when it's not distracted by the need for external validation, can hone in on what's important, on what you need to do, on the small actions that lead to big results. And when your mindset is aligned with your own goals, when you focus solely on improving yourself, it creates a kind of positive feedback loop. The more you focus on you, the more your confidence grows, the more your performance improves, and the more you move closer to the version of yourself that you're working toward. When you stop depending on others for validation, you also stop feeling the weight of other people's expectations. You become more resilient because your action decisions are based on what's true to you, not what's true to someone else's opinion of you. This change in perspective is what creates long-term sustainability. It's why so many people fail when they depend on external approval, because that approval is temporary, fickle, and research roles at Stanford, and often doesn't align with what you truly want. When your mindset shifts to one where you are the judge of your own success, you remove that pressure and open up space to pursue your goals with unwavering focus. The best part, this shift makes you more capable of handling adversity. Because your sense of progress is no longer contingent on others, you're not as affected by rejection, failure, or criticism. Instead of seeing these as reasons to quit, you start viewing them as learning opportunities. You stop seeing the external world as something that can either help or hinder your progress. You begin to view the world through the lens of self-efficacy, the belief that you can figure things out and continue moving forward regardless of how others perceive you. So when you stop seeking validation, you're not just freeing yourself from the need for others to care about your journey. You're shifting your entire mindset to one that builds confidence, resilience, and unstoppable focus. It's the foundation for everything you'll accomplish, and it's something that can't be taken away from you. That's the kind of mindset that will not only sustain you through challenges, but will propel you to heights you've never imagined. The journey you're on is uniquely yours, and that's a truth that many people struggle to accept. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that your path should look like someone else's, that the milestones, the speed at which you're progressing, the outcomes should all align with what others are doing. But when you fall into this trap, you lose sight of what's truly important, your journey, and how it fits into the broader picture of your life. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you accept that your path doesn't have to look like it doesn't have to follow the same schedule, the same timeline, or even the same success markers that others are using. This is crucial. The most successful people didn't get where they are by following someone else's blueprint. They got there by understanding their own needs, their own rhythms, their own challenges, and their own potential. They designed a path that was personal to them because they knew that success isn't one size fits all. What this also means is that there will be times when your progress doesn't look the way you thought it would. There will be times when the results aren't visible, when it feels like you're standing still while others seem to be speeding ahead. That's okay. Your journey, your timeline, your setbacks, they are a part of your story. And in those moments, when it seems like others are surpassing you, it's essential to remember that the only person you need to compete with is yourself. The only yardstick for success is how much better you are than you were yesterday, not how much better you are than the person next to you. This is why it's so important to build a deep connection with your personal goals. When your journey becomes about aligning with your own vision of success at Stanford, you're no longer distracted by what others are doing. Your energy is focused inward, on the next step you need to take. You're not wasting time comparing or trying to fit into someone else's mold. Instead, you're carving out your own path at your own pace based on what's meaningful to you. And when you're fully aligned with this personal vision, it becomes easier to weather the inevitable ups and downs. The setbacks won't feel like failures. They'll simply be part of the process, part of a journey that's meant to unfold in its own time on its own terms. This understanding allows you to step away from the constant noise of external opinions to release yourself from the pressure of keeping up with others. Because the truth is, the more you focus on aligning with your personal path, the more you can give yourself permission to slow down or speed up as needed, to pivot when something isn't working, and to trust the timing of your own progress. That's the power of focusing on your own journey. It frees you from the constant race and puts the focus where it belongs, on you. So when you start comparing, stop and remember your journey is uniquely yours. And that's not a limitation. That's a massive advantage. It gives you the space to move, to evolve, and to grow without the unnecessary burden of competing with anyone else. When you accept this, you unlock the ability to achieve things that are not only true to your potential, but will last because they're built from your own foundation. That's the kind of success that no one else can replicate because it's authentic and deeply rooted in who you are. Hard work, when done consistently, is its own reward. The process of grinding through challenges, pushing past limits, and continuing to show up day after day is transformative. But here's the catch: the reward isn't always immediate. And that's where the real value lies. In a world that thrives on instant gratification, it can be difficult to understand why hard work in and of itself is so powerful. Yet, the deeper you get into this process, the more you realize that true fulfillment comes not from the accolades or recognition. It comes from the satisfaction of knowing that you gave everything you had at Stanford, that you poured yourself into something with focus and discipline, regardless of the outcome. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of success. Too many people are looking for the immediate reward, the external acknowledgement that what they're doing matters. But in the long run, those external validations can be fleeting. The real lasting satisfaction comes from the internal recognition of your effort. It's the knowledge that you showed up, did the work, and committed to your process, even when no one was watching, even when it felt like no one cared. That's where the real growth happens. When you put in hard work without focusing on external rewards, you develop something that can't be taken away from your self-respect. The deep confidence that comes from knowing you did everything you could and you did it for the sake of your own growth and mastery. This kind of work builds a sense of inner strength that no one can challenge, no matter how much praise or criticism you get from the outside world. It's the kind of strength that gets you through the tough times and rose at Stanford, because you know that your worth isn't dependent on recognition. Your worth is defined by the effort you put in and the resilience you develop along the way. And that's the secret of hard work. The more you focus on the process, the more you align yourself with long-term success. The harder you push through, the more you realize that the rewards, the true rewards, come not from the outcome, but from who you become in the process. Each challenge you face, each obstacle you overcome, and builds a version of yourself that's stronger, smarter, and more capable than the one you were before. And that in itself is the reward that keeps you going. Over time, this process becomes ingrained in you. You no longer need to look for validation because the act of doing the work becomes its own source of motivation. Your efforts are their own reward. You start to see that the true measure of success isn't the applause or the recognition, but the integrity you carry, the knowledge that you've put in the effort day after day. This is the kind of success that endures, the kind that sustains you through the inevitable challenges and setbacks, because the reward of hard work is embedded deep within you. Stop waiting for others to catch up. This is one of the most dangerous habits you can fall into. The moment you start waiting for someone else to believe in you, to recognize your potential, to give you permission to move forward, you're giving away your power. You're allowing someone else to dictate your timeline. And here's the truth: nobody is coming to save you. The sooner you realize that at Stanford, the sooner you can take full ownership of your journey. Success is not a group project. It's not about waiting for everyone else to be ready to give you a thumbs up or to support you in your next move. Your goals, your vision, and your drive are yours alone. You have to push forward with or without the approval of others. We often get stuck in this cycle, waiting for the right moment, people, or the right circumstances. We tell ourselves, if only I had this person's support, if only my friends or family believed in me, if only I had more resources. But that's just a mental barrier that holds you back. The truth is, the path will never be perfectly paved, and waiting for others to catch up only slows you down. The world is full of distractions, and people's opinions will always be shifting. Your best course of action is to keep moving forward no matter what. The people who achieve the most are the ones who have learned to operate independently of others' timelines. And research Stanford, they know that the journey isn't going to be linear, and they've learned to trust themselves and their process, even when others might not be on board. They understand that the path to success is a solo venture. It's built in the moments when no one else is watching, when no one else is giving you credit, and it's a path that requires constant, unwavering forward momentum. If you're always waiting for someone else to give you the green light, you're sabotaging your own progress. And by Search Roll Stanford, you're postponing your growth for the sake of other people's expectations. And here's the kicker: when you stop waiting for others, you become the catalyst for change, not just in your life, but in the lives of those around you. When you take that first step without needing anyone else to approve it, you inspire others to do the same. You become the person who sets the example, who demonstrates that you don't need permission. You just need the courage to take action. This is how you build momentum. This is how you start to see real progress. Every time you take a step forward, regardless of what others are doing, you're reinforcing your ability to keep moving without needing anyone else to catch up. The only timeline that matters is your own. So stop waiting. Take that step now. At Stanford, push forward with everything you've got, regardless of who's following you or not. Because in the end, it's not about others catching up to you. It's about you continuing to move forward, no matter what. The truth is, nobody cares about your struggles the way you do. Nobody is as invested in your success as you are. And that's a hard pill to swallow for many. It's a brutal reality. But once you accept it, it actually frees you. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the world is watching, that others are waiting for your next move, or that they are keeping track of your progress. But the harsh reality is this: Cezanne's people are primarily focused on their own lives, their own struggles, and their own goals. The sooner you realize this, the sooner you can stop worrying about what others think and start focusing solely on the work that matters. This doesn't mean that people won't care about you or your success in the future. It just means that in the beginning, in the quiet stages of your journey, you need to rely on your own drive and determination. When you stop seeking validation, when you stop caring whether others are impressed, you tap into something incredibly powerful: the ability to fully immerse yourself in the process without distractions. It's about doing the work because you believe in its value, not because someone is going to praise you for it or give you recognition. And this right here is what separates those who reach their full potential from those who never do. Those who make real progress are the ones who don't need the world to care. They don't need applause or external rewards because they're self-motivated. They're driven by their own internal standards. They've set their goals, defined their vision, and they're moving forward relentlessly regardless of who notices. It's the commitment to yourself that becomes the catalyst for lasting success. The more you focus on yourself and stop waiting for others to acknowledge you, the more you remove the barriers that come with comparison and external approval. You begin to act for the sake of your own growth, and this process becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. When you realize that others don't care as much as you think, you stop giving them control over your emotions, your mindset, and your progress. You start to realize that the only thing that truly matters is what you're doing right now and what you'll do tomorrow and the day after that. So stop wasting energy hoping that others are going to notice or validate you. It's time to shift your focus inward. You need to understand that your own journey, your own growth, and your own commitment to the work will carry you far more than any external validation ever could. You don't need permission, you don't need approval, and you certainly don't need to wait for anyone else to catch up. Your success is yours to create, and that's something only you can do. When you start doing the work without waiting for others to care, you unlock the true power of self-reliance and perseverance.